So how should India react? How do we navigate the shifting tides of power and security in an uncertain world? From grand strategy to military technology, from power and conflict to the unseen forces shaping our world, and from battlefields to the halls of power, we decode the past, analyze the present, and anticipate the future of global security. I am Sandeep Unnithan, and this is the National Security Agenda. Our big story tonight is that India has taken a major leap towards Atmanirbharta, or self-sufficiency in defense. The Cabinet Committee on Security has approved a 7,000 crore deal to procure 307 advanced towed artillery gun systems and 327 towing vehicles. This order for the ATAGS. Now these guns, these ATAG howitzers, are manufactured by Bharat Forge and Tata Advanced Systems. The ATAGs feature cutting-edge technology, including an all-electric drive system for low maintenance operations. These 155 by 52 caliber howitzers can hit targets 48 kilometers away. They will equip 15 artillery regiments of the Indian Army, reinforcing India's artillery strength. But beyond bolstering domestic defense capabilities, India has also secured export orders for the ATAGs. This reflects growing global interest in these advanced systems. To discuss the significance of this milestone and its implications for India's defense and global standing, we welcome Rahul Chaudhry, former CEO Tata Power SED. Rahul, welcome to the National Security Agenda.
Namaskar, yes, it's a momentous occasion for the Indian industry, but this is not the largest order. The largest order for an indigenously designed and developed equipment went to Pinaka about 4 years back.
Right.
When sizable number of Pinaka regiments were ordered on Tatas and L&T.
Right. So another big order for indigenous defense. But Rahul, you've been a key mover behind the ATAGs while you were at Tata Power SED. It's a milestone. Can you walk us through the journey of the ATAGs development and how it really signifies India's push for self-reliance in defense? What is the big milestone that we're talking about here?
Modi ji keeps talking about Team India. And ATAGS was a true reflection of Team India, because in the initial design phase, and that's one of the most crucial pieces of any product development, is the initial design phase where different kinds of teams come together and have the right tools and the capability to get the first prototype out. And at that point of time, in Tata Power SED facilities in Bangalore, we had the ARD team and our team shoulder to shoulder, about 150 people working together day and night to realize the first dream. I think that public-private partnership was the basis on which this happened.
Absolutely. Public-private partnership and the basis of Team India that ATAGS exemplifies. Rahul, ATAGS has secured export orders even before the Indian Army bought it. And the joke is that Armenia has bought these guns, and the Indian Army will have more ATAGS guns than the Armenian Army. Now, explain to us why it took us so long to acquire these guns. They've been in the pipeline for almost 8 years now. The development of this project began somewhere in 2011. The first prototypes emerged in 2016 and 17. Why does it take so long to order these guns, which are so crucially needed?
One of the problem areas in Indian defense is that we do not find the ways of looking at the strength of the capabilities which we have got and keep on benchmarking things. One of the major reasons why ATAG got delayed was its weight. Now, it's an all-electric gun, which means it would be a little bit heavier, but it's far better suited for cold conditions than an hydraulic gun. And it is about 17 and a half, 18 tons, whereas all the mountain bridges are rated at 20 tons. So there was no major reason why we could not have taken this gun on faster. But for this entire issue, it's too heavy to this, to that, and more importantly, there was a competitor from Israel which was trying its level best to sabotage this program. Thanks to the government of India and push for Make in India, this program has finally happened, and it has happened for one of the pioneer directors of this project, who came up with this 25-liter chamber, and because of that we have 48 kilometers range. Now, range means that you are covering far bigger area, because pi r square is the area where you can go. Therefore, this 10 kilometers adds to a hell of a lot more targets which you can reach to. This is, and for that, a heavier gun will shoot more. Otherwise, you will not get the kind of accuracy. This is pure physics. This is nothing to do with marketing. And this is where our problem is. We do not resolve engineering problems like engineers. We try to get into brochure engineering, and that delays projects.
Brochure engineering which delays projects, indeed. Harsh words from Rahul Chaudhry, who's been one of the key movers of the ATAGS project. But, you know, Rahul, there is an overall requirement for 1,580 such guns. And we all know how useful artillery is in the mountains. We saw the Kargil war 25 years back, where the Indian Army fought with the Bofors guns, which had a bad rep because of the bribery scandal, but they performed exceptionally well during the Kargil war. Now, given that we have threats along the mountains with the Chinese and the Pakistanis on two fronts, and you have a requirement for 1,500 such guns, how do you see us ramping up our artillery requirements based on these present orders? Is there we clearly have a big requirement for guns. This is a small order. How do you ramp up?
We have a big requirement, and we are now from all electric gun, which is performing reasonably well. It is performing well. Armenia is a cold place. Armenia is, again, it may not be that cold as Leh Ladakh, but it is still a cold place. So if these guns are performing exceptionally well at a 48-kilometer range, we need to move beyond. But we are now going back and developing again hydraulic-based gun systems. I mean, this is kind of going back to the drawing boards for something which looks good on the brochure, but it is not suited for Indian conditions. And my belief is once ATAGS starts to perform, I have seen when Pinaka was introduced first time and the way it has now being adopted by the Indian Armed Forces, it takes time, but when the equipment performs, it speaks for itself. So I am very, very confident that ATAGS will be the answer, because it is a fantastic engineering way beyond the capabilities of most gun-toting nations who have 200 years of history.
Absolutely. It's a game changer for India and the Indian Armed Forces, and of course, Indian private sector defense.
It's also a battle-defining piece of artillery because of its range it does not require a sophisticated precision-guided munition to go beyond 40 kilometers, which is the case with the American towed guns.
Yes.
And they have a $1,500 shell. We have a $15,000 shell.
Right, absolutely. Rahul, closing comments. What does this represent for the future of Indian artillery? The fact that we have guns like the ATAGS demonstrates the fact that we are now completely self-sufficient when it comes to artillery. How can you build up on this capability that you've developed with the ATAGS?
Well, it's a matter of public-private partnership where even the armed forces have to realize that brochure-based specifications do not work. You have to meet the metal has to meet the road, tires have to work, entire system has to work together to improve it and make it world class. It cannot be a vendor relationship with the artillery. It has to be a relationship where we all work together to improve it. It's a fantastic tool with which we will maybe able to sell some 4,000 guns abroad.
Right, big export potential as well for the ATAGS, and the fact that we have no way to go forward, as Rahul Chaudhry mentioned, except to go for public-private collaboration.
Just imagine 48 kilometers in the mountains. We have a 60 kilometer range possible with this kind of a gun at a shell which is costing 15 to 20,000 rupees.
Right, absolutely. Win-win for Indian defense, major boost for public-private partnership, one of the biggest private defense contracts being signed by the government of India on Tata's and, of course, Bharat Forge, the ATAGS guns. Thank you very much for joining us, Rahul Chaudhry, one of the prime movers behind the ATAGS gun development.
Thank you and congratulations to all.
It's a major boost for Indian defense manufacturing. Sagar Defence has signed an MOU with an American company for underwater drones. Now we're going to be telling you more about this game-changing technology and why it's a crucial step forward in the India-US defense relationship. Sagar Defence Engineering has signed an MOU with Liquid Robotics, a Boeing subsidiary. The MOU hopes to co-develop autonomous surface vessels or ASVs for underwater domain awareness. Now this milestone reflects deeper technological alignments under the Trust Initiative that was launched during Prime Minister Modi's 2025 US visit. Now this trust strengthens supply chain resilience and defense partnerships. These advanced underwater surveillance vessels will enhance maritime security across the Indo-Pacific. And to discuss the significance of this development and its impact on India's defense landscape, we are joined by Captain Nikunj Parashar, who's the founder of Sagar Defence Engineering. Welcome to National Security Agenda.
Thank you so much, Sandeep. Pleasure.
Tell us why this MOU that you signed with Boeing is so significant.
Now, if you look at Wave Glider is a key platform for U.S. India collaboration because it's a tactical platform, especially it brings in a readiness in the Indo-Pacific region. And this partnership with Boeing actually helps us in this bilateral defense cooperation and supports the Asia initiative where our Prime Minister and the President of United States of America, Trump, is looking at. And parallelly, this is bringing in a position where we are not only manufacturing for India, but with Boeing and Liquid Robotics, we are looking at the exports on a global scale.
Absolutely. Nikunj, there's some criticism that this is yet another example of screwdriver technology, that we get the platform from the United States, we don't add value to it, we will again have to import these platforms. Tell us why this is so significant for a private sector firm that's really at the cutting edge of unmanned maritime systems like Sagar Defence.
So the whole discussion of getting into this partnership has been over 2.5 years. It is not that something which has just started overnight. Discussions have been held at the government level also in this regard. This is absolutely not something on a CKD route. As Sagar Defence has grown up from a very small startup to what we are today, and we're still growing on that scale. The government initiative of Make in India has been taken into picture over here very strongly. And the platform, while I speak, we are already manufacturing and doing certain prototyping already in our facility in Pune in this regard. So while the MOU has come up, Sagar Defence and Liquid Robotics are already working in that space and in that domain. At no cost, we are looking at importing something from United States of America, and there is no technology part out here. It's a pure TOT based, plus the technology developed at our end is also getting inducted in it, and then the overall program is going to move ahead.
Right. So, explain for our viewers, Captain Parashar, how this platform really works. Why is this so significant when you're looking at, the recent developments in maritime domain awareness and indeed underwater domain awareness? That's something that not a lot of people talk a lot about.
See, when you look at the underwater domain awareness, and especially for a country like India, and you see the shift of trade which has come in the Indo-IOR region, this is something which it's a lot of strategic importance. And you have these submarines, and the size of submarines are either getting bigger and they're getting much more smaller also, from midgets to extra large unmanned underwater vehicles coming in. These vehicles, they perform at depths of 1,000 meters, at times 600 to 1,000 meters below. There are platforms which are capable of going to 3,000 meters also deep in. And we look at our continental shelf, the depth region somewhere around 200 meters going up to 1,500 to 2,000 meters also. These underwater submarines could come in, and we have our adversaries on our side already across on both the sides. When we look across, how do you detect these submarines? How do you detect, how do we defend our sea lines of communications? Now, the beauty of Wave Glider is it's a wave propelled platform, which can remain out in oceans just not for a few days, but for months, and in coming times for years also. This could act as nodes across our borders in the water, and any presence of a threat perception or of an underwater activity happening in can be passively and actively monitored. Now, for example, if you have a submarine, and if you are wave propelled, a platform which is on top of the surface of the sea, for a submarine to detect that platform is almost next to impossible. But on the other hand, the wave propelled vehicle can detect the movement of the submarine. So in turns, you get a lot of information prior, even before the submarine comes to know that you have a platform there in water. And this brings an upper edge to our government, to our forces, to take strategic decisions.
Right. So you're talking of persistent maritime surveillance with these kind of robot craft that are going to be spread all across the Indian Ocean region, Captain Parashar. The fact that you will have robot submarines that will do the kind of work that, say, manned submarines could not, given the fact that we have a shortage of submarines. Is that the prime motive behind these kind of platforms?
I would say, Sandeep, it's about detection, identification, reconnaissance, and then giving you strategic information pre-hand. So these crafts are actually looking at detecting submarines and detecting other types of underwater platforms which are coming across onto our borders and onto our peripheries in the IOR region. So we already have submarines. So these are not a replication of or something in lieu of the submarines. These are a platform which will help us to detect an enemy submarines out there in the water.
Platforms that will help us detect enemy submarines in the water, and that was Captain Nikunj Parashar of Sagar Defence talking about the importance of this very, very significant deal between Sagar Defence and Boeing. It's part of the strategic India-US technology sharing agreement that we spoke about recently when Prime Minister Modi was in the White House. Thank you very much for joining us, Captain Nikunj Parashar.
Thank you so much, sir.
President Donald Trump fought and won the US presidential elections last year with a campaign promise to end the Russia-Ukraine war. Now, the real reason he wants peace with Russia. Now, Trump might be known as a transactional president. He cuts deals. Getting a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine will bolster his credibility as a global statesman known for ending Europe's longest war since the Second World War. But beneath Trump's image of a deal maker is a shrewd practitioner of realpolitik. Realpolitik is a system of politics of principles based on practical rather than moral or ideological considerations. Now, shortly after talks with President Putin recently, President Trump said this to Fox News, and I quote, "As a student of history, which I am, and I've watched it all, the first thing you learn is you don't want Russia and China to get together. The Russia-Ukraine war is a proxy war between the US-led West and Ukraine against Russia. Its direct consequence, Russia moved closer to China. Now, Presidents Putin and Xi Jinping call their relationship a no-limits partnership. And the longer the Russia-Ukraine war continues, the stronger will be the Russia-China embrace. And the last time these two countries were this close was in 1950, when the Soviet Union signed an alliance with China. It lasted less than 2 decades before the Sino-Soviet border conflict of 1969. Now, Henry Kissinger, Secretary of State and NSA to President Richard Nixon, took advantage of the Sino-Soviet split. He engineered a realpolitik reset. The United States drew closer to China. President Nixon began the first U.S. president to travel to China. Now, cut to 2025. President Trump plans to do a reverse Nixon, take Russia out of the Chinese embrace. Now, China is a direct economic and military threat to the United States in a way the Soviet Union never was. A combination of Russia and China, a resource superpower on the one hand and a manufacturing superpower on the other, would be unbeatable. President Trump realizes this. He wants to tackle the China challenge head-on. This is good news for India because China is India's strategic competitor. It is a superpower at our doorstep and it claims Indian territory. Russia, on the other hand, is India's strategic ally. A closer China-Russia relationship is deeply problematic for New Delhi. Trump's Russia reset, closer ties between Russia and the United States, is exactly what Indian strategic thinkers have hoped for. But for this to happen, the Russia-Ukraine war has to end. That's all for tonight. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back with more defense insights on the next installment of National Security Agenda.